If you've noticed a little handheld scanner sitting near the shelves at your local Dollar Tree lately, you're not imagining things, and you're definitely not the only one who's confused about what it's actually for. I asked an employee directly, and what she told me confirmed something a lot of shoppers have been quietly suspecting for months. This store is moving away from the flat, predictable dollar price point faster than most people realize. I went through the store item by item with her and found 12 specific products where the price has genuinely changed, some by a little, one of them by an amount that genuinely made me stop and ask her to repeat herself. I'm going through every single one, oldest change to most recent, so by the end you'll know exactly what to expect the next time you're standing in that checkout line watching the total add up faster than you remember. And stay with me through all 12, because the very last item on this list isn't priced anywhere close to $1 anymore. And once you hear the number, you'll understand why that specific scanner exists in the first place. One more thing before we start. I'm not going oldest to smallest here. I'm going in the order she actually walked me through the store, which means the increases genuinely get bigger as we go. So if number 1 feels small, that's on purpose. It's setting up just how far this thing actually goes by the time we hit the end. Let's start with the one nobody really argued about, because honestly, it barely registered for most people. Number 1, a specific brand of tortilla chips, which quietly moved from $1.25 up to $1.50. The employee I spoke with said this was one of the earliest price adjustments at her store, rolled out so gradually that she genuinely doesn't remember a single customer complaining about it directly. 25 cents doesn't sound like much on its own, and on a single bag of chips it really isn't. But here's the thing worth sitting with for a second. This exact 25-cent jump is happening across dozens of items in this store right now. Not just one bag of chips, and that's really the whole story behind this entire video. Small, easy-to-miss increases, stacking up quietly across your entire cart without you ever noticing any single one of them on its own. I actually stood in that specific aisle afterward and watched 2 different customers grab that exact bag without even glancing at the price tag, which honestly proved her point better than anything she could have told me directly. Now here's where it starts getting more noticeable. Number 2, liquid laundry detergent. A smaller bottle that used to sit at the standard $1.25, now priced at a full $3. That's not a quiet quarter increase anymore. That's the price more than doubling on a single bottle. The employee explained this one differently than the chips. This wasn't a gradual creep, it was a direct swap. The old $1.25 bottle simply disappeared off the shelf one restock cycle and came back at the new price with slightly updated packaging. She mentioned laundry and cleaning products specifically have seen some of the steepest jumps in the entire store, mostly because the smaller travel-size bottles this store used to specialize in are quietly being phased out in favor of larger sizes at a correspondingly larger price. If laundry detergent is something you specifically came here for, this is genuinely one of the categories where the math has changed the most. Quick gut check for you watching this right now. If you're someone who used to grab 2 or 3 of these small bottles at a time, specifically because they were cheap and disposable, doing that same thing today cost you $9 instead of $3.75, and that difference is exactly the kind of thing that quietly changes a shopping habit without anyone consciously deciding to change it. Moving into pet supplies now, because this next one genuinely surprised the employee herself when she looked into it. Number 3, a durable rope-style dog toy, up from $1.25 to $1.75. 50 cents might not sound dramatic after that laundry detergent jump, but percentage-wise, this is actually one of the larger increases on this entire list, a full 40% higher than it used to be. The reasoning here was straightforward. Tougher, more durable materials cost more to source, and this particular toy got a genuine quality upgrade alongside the price increase. Thicker rope, tighter braiding, less likely to fall apart after a single aggressive chewing session. Whether that upgrade is worth the extra 50 cents probably depends on how hard your specific dog goes through toys. But at least this is one increase with a tangible change behind it, not just a number going up for no reason. I'll be honest, out of all 12 items on this list, this is the one where I actually walked away thinking the price change made sense, which honestly wasn't the reaction I expected going into any of this. Here's one that's going to hit home for anyone managing a tight beauty or skincare budget. Number 4, a small hyaluronic acid serum, previously $1.25, now sitting at $3 even. This is the same basic product I've talked about before on this channel, the same core ingredient, but the price point has shifted enough that it's worth mentioning again here specifically. The employee mentioned skincare and beauty items broadly have been one of the categories most affected by this entire pricing shift, with several products in that specific aisle jumping well beyond the original dollar range. If you've been relying on this exact serum as part of a tight budget skincare routine, it's worth knowing the math on it has genuinely changed, even if it's technically still cheaper than what you'd pay at a specialty beauty retailer. Still a good deal compared to the outside world, sure, but a completely different deal than the one you signed up for if you built a whole routine around this specific bottle at the old price a year or two ago. This next one is going to feel personal if you're someone who decorates seasonally. Number 5. A light-up seasonal decor piece, specifically the kind that used to anchor an entire holiday display for just over $1. That exact item now costs $6. Let that sink in for a second, because that's not a percentage increase anymore. That's nearly a 500% jump on a single item. The employee explained this specific category, larger battery-operated seasonal decor, has moved almost entirely into the store's higher-tier pricing now, essentially treated as a completely different product category than it used to be grouped under. If you built an entire holiday display around grabbing several of these at the old price, doing that same thing today costs dramatically more than it used to. And that's exactly the kind of shift that's catching longtime shoppers off guard the most. Picture the math for a second. 5 of these for a holiday display used to run you just over $6 total, and now a single one alone costs the same as what 5 used to. Let's talk about something almost everyone reaches for without thinking twice. Number 6. A name-brand all-purpose cleaning spray, up from $1.25 to $3. Same story we've seen a couple times already on this list. A smaller dollar-range bottle quietly disappearing and getting replaced by a larger bottle at a noticeably higher price point. The employee mentioned this specific swap happened almost overnight at her location. No gradual transition, just an empty shelf spot for about a week, and then the new pricing showing up once the restock arrived. If you've had a moment recently where you grabbed something out of habit and got genuinely surprised at the register, there's a decent chance it was exactly this kind of overnight swap catching you off guard. That's honestly the pattern running through most of this list so far, less about a slow, obvious climb and more about a specific week where the old version simply vanishes and something new and pricier takes its place without any warning sign along the way. Now here's a small one that actually annoyed me more than some of the bigger jumps on this list, just based on how often people need it. Number 7. A basic phone charging cable, previously $1.25, now $3 as well. This one doesn't come with an upgrade story the way the pet toy did. The employee genuinely wasn't sure why this specific category jumped so much relative to some others, just that electronics broadly have moved into a higher pricing tier across the board. For something this small and this frequently needed, especially if you're someone who loses or breaks cables regularly, this specific increase is one that adds up faster than almost anything else on this list, simply because of how often you're likely buying it. Think about how many of these you've probably bought over just the last year alone, one for the car, one for a bag, a couple as backups scattered around the house, and suddenly this small, easy-to-overlook increase starts looking a lot less small. We're 2/3 through this list now, and the increases are only getting bigger from here, so stick with me. Number 8. A bag of ground coffee, a size that used to run $1.25, now priced at $5. That's a full 400% increase on a single product, and coffee specifically was one item the employee brought up completely unprompted when I asked which price changes generated the most customer reactions at the register. She said this one specifically gets pointed out by customers almost daily, mostly out of genuine shock rather than anger. People simply not expecting to see a $5 price tag on something they remember paying $1.25 for not that long ago. I actually watched this exact reaction happen in real time. While I was standing there, a woman picked up the bag, checked the price twice, and put it back down without saying a word, which honestly told me everything I needed to know about how that specific increase is landing with regular shoppers. This next one is for anyone shopping with kids, because it's going to change how you plan a birthday or holiday gift budget here. Number 9. A mid-size kid's toy, specifically the kind that used to anchor a birthday goodie bag or stocking stuffer for just over $1. That same toy now runs $7. The employee mentioned toys broadly have shifted the most dramatically out of every single category in the store, largely because this store can now stock genuinely more substantial, higher quality toys instead of the smaller, simpler versions that used to fit the old dollar price point. Whether that's a fair trade depends entirely on what you're looking for, a bigger, better toy at $7, or several smaller ones at the old price spread across more kids or more occasions. If you've got multiple kids or a big family gathering to shop for, that difference between one $7 toy and 5 smaller ones at the old price genuinely changes how far a gift budget stretches, especially around a holiday when you're buying for more than just one person at a time. Almost there, And this next one is exactly the kind of item that quietly reveals how far this pricing shift has actually gone. Number 10. A set of kitchen storage containers, the stackable kind that used to be a genuine bargain at just over $1 each. That set now cost $5 total. The employee mentioned kitchen and home organization items specifically have moved almost entirely out of the traditional dollar range at this point, treated now as a completely separate, higher-tier category rather than an occasional exception sitting on an otherwise dollar-priced shelf. If organizing on a tight budget here used to be one of your go-to strategies, it's worth knowing that specific category has shifted more than almost any other section in the store. I actually remember buying a full set of these exact containers years ago for barely more than $5 total, so seeing that same total price attached to what's now a single set genuinely put the scale of this whole shift into perspective for me more than almost anything else on this list, one more before the big one. Number 11. A specific greeting card style, the kind with a more elaborate licensed design, moved from $1.25 up to $2.50, doubling in price. This is a smaller jump in raw dollar terms compared to some of what's coming next, but it's worth mentioning specifically because greeting cards were one of the last categories most shoppers expected to see move away from that original dollar range at all. The employee confirmed this specific style change is tied to licensing costs on the more elaborate designs, essentially the same pattern we've seen play out across several other categories on this list already. And now, the one I told you about at the very beginning, the item that made me ask the employee to repeat the number back to me, because I genuinely thought I'd misheard her. Number 12. A large storage tote, the heavy-duty plastic kind meant for genuine long-term storage, not just a quick organizing project. This exact tote, which used to sit right around the original $1.25 price point in a smaller version, now costs $10 in its current, larger form. $10 at a store whose entire name is built around the word dollar. The employee actually laughed a little when she told me this one, mentioning she's had more than one customer joke about the store needing a name change at this point, and honestly, standing there holding that specific tote, it's hard to argue with them. So here's where all 12 of these leave us. A tortilla chip bag up a quarter, a laundry detergent bottle more than doubled, a dog toy up 40%, a skincare serum nearly tripled, a seasonal decor piece up nearly 500%, a cleaning spray more than doubled, a phone cable more than doubled, coffee up 400%, a kid's toy up 7 times the original price, a container set up nearly 5 times over, a greeting card doubled, and finally a storage tote that's now 8 times what it used to cost. None of these changes happened all at once, and none of them were really hidden exactly. They've just been rolling out quietly enough, one restock cycle at a time, that most shoppers only really notice the cumulative effect once they actually stop and add it all up the way we just did together. Personally, the coffee and the storage tote are the two that genuinely reset my expectations walking into this store from now on, since both of those completely break the assumption that everything here still hovers somewhere close to $1. If you've noticed your own total creeping up recently without being able to point to exactly why, there's a very good chance it's this same pattern playing out in your own cart, one quiet quarter or dollar increase at a time, across more items than you'd expect until you actually sit down and count them the way we just did. If this kind of behind-the-scenes pricing breakdown was useful, let me know in the comments which of these 12 surprised you the most. I'm genuinely curious whether the coffee or the storage tote gets more reactions, and I read every single comment. And if you want to stay ahead of the next round of price changes before they quietly show up at your own local store, subscribing is honestly the best way to make sure you catch it the moment I find out. Thanks for sticking with me through all 12 of these. I know a video about rising prices isn't exactly the most exciting topic, but if it helps you walk in a little more prepared next time, that's genuinely the whole point of putting this one together.